Thanks, Rob.
Thank you. Um, Hi, everyone. It's nice to meet you. It's good to be here. Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to spend some time with you. I've prepared a presentation, so what I'm going to do is share the presentation. I'll move through the presentation, and then I'm super happy to take your questions and hear from you about anything you'd like to know. Any questions I can help with, I'm happy to help with. Okay, so I'm going to switch my screen over here and make sure that you can see my presentation. Should take just a few seconds. Okay, should be able to see the presentation. It says happy evening.
Yep.
Okay, great. Pleasure to be here. Thank you so much for spending some time together with me. It's important at the beginning that I let you know, of course, that I love FX trading. I love everything about it, but it does come with a risk, and trading can involve a loss, and it can involve profits. I mean, both. And as you all know, most people who trade or invest do so from a very inexperienced level. And so most people do lose. And it can be difficult for people who don't get proper training in risk management, from me or from anyone else. But of course, we're here to talk about how successful traders are able to do it. So I'd like to spend some time together with you. I'm Rob Booker. I live in the Houston area. Actually, my office is in Conroe, on Lake Conroe. And this is my family. So it's a little bit about me. I've been, as mentioned, trading for quite some time, teaching traders, spending time with traders. I wrote a book called Adventures of a Currency Trader in the year 2007, and a variety of other books published in Japan and the United States as well. I was a lawyer from 1998 to 2000. I went to the University of California, but I didn't want to practice law. that was not my dream. So then I became a trader, traded for myself. I was a commodities trading advisor from 2006 to 2011. I did manage some funds during that time. It was sometimes it was a lot of fun, and sometimes it was very stressful. But I was a regulated, registered commodities trading advisor during that time. Author, and of course, I love my family very much. They're the most important thing in my life. I do sell training, and I do make YouTube videos and do podcasts and all those kinds of things. But I'm not here tonight to do that. I'm here tonight to share some things and be helpful and help you out in any way that I can. And I hope that we can build a relationship. And if you feel comfortable asking me questions, you can do that anytime as well. Okay, so let's back up here and move this out of the way. There we go. Okay, let's see if I can get the slide presentation to move back where we want it to be. Okay, so everything for me started back in 2001 is when I got started. And I made a lot of mistakes, and I had no training. I read some books. That was my only training. And I remember reading the books and wondering, is what I'm looking at the same thing in the book? And is this the right time to trade? Is this not the right time to trade? And all of the different currency symbols were very confusing to me. It was very difficult, and it took me 3 years to really feel comfortable with trading. And my most profitable years that I had as a trader, where I really had the most significant percentage gains, were from 2004 to 2006 and 7. And I traded the carry trade. And this little story here was I would trade the British pound and Japanese yen. And I would buy it and I would sell it at the same time, which sounds really strange. But if you've ever traded options, you know all about hedging. So I would buy on one side and I would hedge with a sell on the other. And I was perfectly hedged, and I would make interest for holding these positions overnight. And so it got to the point where we were moving $500,000 per week back and forth between trading accounts for the buying and trading accounts for the selling and the hedging. And it was a lot of fun. And I did this with my friend Maxwell, who is now retired in Germany. And Max and I just had the greatest time ever. I wasn't really teaching any traders at the time, a very small number of traders at the time. I was mainly just trading for myself, but this trade became quite famous, and eventually I wrote a book about this trade. And sometime if we get to know each other and we have more time, we can talk about this trade. The unfortunate thing is this trade is now over. The carry trade really doesn't work right now, but it should be coming back within the next 12 to 24 months because interest rates are rising in many parts of the developed world. So we could talk about that another time when that comes back. But tonight I want to share with you some of the basics of the FX system, the world of FX, how one trades FX and what the expectations for a return can be, how difficult it is, or how long it takes to get up and running. But most importantly, every success that I've had with trading came because I built a system. And this is not necessarily a strategy, not just a trading strategy. That's what most people think about when they think about systems. Not just a trading strategy, but rather a system, a routine, or a process. So all of my successes come from the repeated execution of a successful routine or method over and over and over again, being disciplined in the process. And this is what most people lack in the world of trading and investing, but in the world of trading FX, most people lack discipline. And that means that they're very impulsive and they risk too much. And so most people fail because of this. But for someone like yourselves that have some experience in investing and you have some discipline and you set goals and you work towards those goals and you're a group of people who support each other, well, well then you like systems and you like routine and you like having a process that is predictable. That's what I like. Okay. So in other words, a system is finding something that works and then you do it over and over and you keep doing it and you might improve it over time. Constant improvement is great, but you keep doing what works even during that process of improvement. And this sounds so simple, and it's something that I'm sure that you already know. And I don't mean to offend anyone that already knows this. This is very obvious to successful investors that have done other things just like you have all done. However, for most people in the world of FX investing, this is not what they do. Most people in the world of FX trading will change their system and their strategy over and over again. And what happens is they go through a cycle of excitement and sadness. They get excited, then they lose money, they get sad, then they get excited again, they lose money, they get sad. And what I am is kind of like this, kind of just normal. I'm not too excited. I do get excited about talking to friends and traders like you, but about my trading system that makes money. As you'll see tonight, I'll show you the system. I don't get too excited about it. I just want it to work. I want it to keep it working, and I want to keep it steady. So if that sounds good to you, I'll keep going. And I'll tell you a little bit about the world of FX trading. Now, most of the trading in the world of FX is by banks. And some of the major banks are all the banks that you've heard of: Citi, JP Morgan, of course, Goldman Sachs. These are some of the major traders. And then there's, of course, the Japanese banks, the Mitsubishis, so forth. And then there's the banks in Europe. There's Saxo Bank. And these banks trade with each other back and forth over and over all day long on behalf of clients. Not just on behalf of themselves, but they'll have a company call in on the phone and say, I want to buy 100 million euros. And then Mitsubishi Bank will call Citi and they'll try to get a transaction together and they'll put together a transaction. This is called the IB system, or the interbank system. And this is done on Bloomberg terminals and Reuters terminals and trading terminals Goldman Sachs has, I think it's JP Morgan or Goldman Sachs has a brand new currency trading terminal just for institutions. And they trade electronically, just like you and I do. They used to trade on the phone, but they trade electronically just over the computer, and they trade back and forth with each other. Now, the world of FX is highly regulated now, especially in the United States and in Europe. It's a highly regulated, not just for individuals like you and me, but it's highly regulated for institutions as well. And it has become, in the last 20 years, a very professional and very highly regulated industry. In the United States, professional traders are regulated by the Commodities Futures Trading Commission and the National Futures Association. And those are regulatory bodies that have the power to even arrest and detain and all kinds of things. And they put major restrictions on who can manage money and who can be a broker and many things like that. In the FX world, over $4 trillion is traded daily and changes hands and is turned over daily. So it is a giant market. To say that, 7 trillion is the size of the daily US financial system. So the worldwide FX system is half as large and even larger than half as large as the US entire financial system. So that really is fascinating to me, how large of a system that is. And that means that the currency market does not have some of the same disadvantages that I have found to be the case in the world of other types of trading. So this is the world of FX. So it's mainly traded by banks. For you and I, we trade with brokers or what are called exchanges, but you'll hear both words tossed around. So you might hear a foreign exchange broker, foreign exchange dealer, or foreign exchange. Now, these dealers include companies like ForEx.com, which is really Gain Capital, Oanda, which is huge. It's only FX, but it's just a giant financial firm, OANDA, and then all kinds of other firms all throughout Europe. Pepperstone in Australia, Global Prime. I manage money for international investors at Global Prime in Australia, and many others. You may have seen soccer teams in Europe, FX Pro. They sponsor my events when I come to speak in Europe. So there's for retail traders like you and me, we trade with a dealer, broker, or exchange. And we trade with one of these companies, and they simply provide a trading platform. Here's what one of these trading platforms looks like. It may take a moment for it to appear on the screen. It may take forever. It looks like it's stalling, and we can come back to it in a moment. But they provide just a simple trading platform, and we trade on top of that platform. So here are some advantages of trading FX that I have found over the years. Now, I admit my experience is largely in the world of currency trading and FX, so I am biased because I know it best, and it is my favorite because this is where I started. One of my favorite things about ForEx is how easy it is to short a market, meaning I don't have to borrow shares. They're not hard to find. It's just instantaneous. Buying and selling is instantaneous, and there is always immense amounts of liquidity. So when I was managing as a CTA, I had a fund, and it was a small fund, so it was nothing really substantial. It was about $8 million. I was trading $10 million positions back and forth in this $8 million fund back and forth, and they would clear instantly, because there's so much liquidity in the market, it would clear instantly. But trading 10 million shares of a small public company that could move a lot is almost impossible. Whereas I can trade the US dollar, for example, Mexican peso, on an electronic platform that I'll show you, and it happens instantaneously. And I can even trade, well, when I was a money manager and I traded much larger trading accounts, I could trade much larger sizes with no problems. FX trading is really great for long-term or short-term trading. It's both. I have found that trading stocks can become very expensive. For example, trading short-term in and out, because of the way that quick gains in the stock market are taxed, that can be very expensive, not just on commissions, but also in the way that it's taxed. FX gains are taxed as a hybrid between short-term and long-term gains. So if, let's say, you make $100,000 a year trading FX, 60,000 of that is taxed as capital gains and 40% as income. So it's actually tax-wise, it's advantageous to have gains in FX as opposed to stock. So every year when I finish my stock reporting, I pay a bunch of taxes for short-term gains because I come in and out of the market. But with FX, I don't have those same problems. Also, commissions are rare in the world of FX, although they do exist. Commissions are rare, and they're usually just built into the spread. So even in stock trading, you get a spread, a difference between the bid and the ask, the buy price and the sell price. Well, in FX, they just build that into the spread, and then you don't really pay as much of a commission. You can pay a commission and get better execution, but the commissions are really low. And so you can do a great deal of trading like I do, and you do not have a problem with the commissions. Some other advantages include there's very little manipulation in retail FX. The market is just too big. There's too many trillions of dollars flowing through the market. So you don't have these problems where you click on a price and then you don't get the price you asked for, or that you're worried that there's a market manipulator on the other side. It's just too big of a market to manipulate. You have to have you have to be a central bank to manipulate the FX market. Now, there are two famous examples of two countries, New Zealand and the UK. So George Soros famously broke the Bank of England by shorting the British pound when the Bank of England wanted it to go up. And he won and they lost. He made $1 billion on that trade back in 1990, but that was a lot of money. New Zealand, more recently, in the mid-2000s, the early part of the decade, was fighting with Japanese retail traders who were buying up New Zealand bonds. They would borrow money in Japan and they would buy New Zealand bonds with the money. So New Zealand bonds were just going out of control. And New Zealand tried to place restrictions on the currency rate. They tried to cap, they basically tried to short their own currency and they lost. They couldn't keep up with it. Even a central bank, even the Reserve Bank of New Zealand couldn't do it. There just wasn't enough money even for a central bank to beat private investors. So it's very hard to manipulate the market. There are very low margin requirements in FX. So the margin requirements are extraordinary. So it is not uncommon to see 30 to 1 or 50 to 1 margin, meaning for every $1,000 in the account, you can control a 50,000 unit position, or for every $1,000 in the account, you can control a $30,000 position. That is much better than what you get in stocks or in most cases futures contracts. So for me, those low margin requirements make it really suitable to start trading with a very small account to learn. So a lot of people will start trading FX with $1,000, which would be absolutely crazy and just ridiculous in the world of stock trading. But it allows me to say to people, you can learn how to do it with a small amount of money, but still command a reasonably sized position and still have a good time and still feel like you're learning, but not risk a lot of your capital. Another advantage, in my opinion, is there's really great software for the phone and desktop. Although, of course, I trade stocks on my phone and desktop computers with great software. The last advantage is the one that I think makes the most difference for me, and that is robotic trading. I have automated my trading, and I'll show you this tonight. I'll show you what it looks like. I have automated most of my trading, and it would be very difficult to automate my trading in the world of stocks. Or it's possible in futures, but it's actually not as easy as we would hope, because the futures market can get shut down or limit down or lock up. And the FX world never does that. And so I've been able to program and automate the systems that I use so that I'm managing a system as opposed to managing just an account. And what I want to say about that is just one thing really quickly. So most people think of trading as a job. It's just a job. They sit in front of their computer and they take trades. But you can think about trading as managing assets. or even franchises, where you manage systems that are operating. Instead of just managing a trading account, I manage systems. And so I deploy assets to an automated strategy when it's working well, and then I deploy them to a different strategy when that's working well, and then so on and so forth. And I'm just managing the process. But the employees or the system is doing the job. So it's the same way as somebody owning a franchise where they hire employees, good, trusted people who work for a wage, and they employ those people to do a job. So I employ the robots to do a job, and then I manage the enterprise. And that's, I think, a little bit different. I think about this in a way that's much different than many other people. Now, there are some disadvantages, and I want to be honest about it. FX is not easily optionable. So options on FX are not common. They are not priced very well. The bid and the ask is out of control. And so you can't really trade options on FX very easily. It is possible to do it, but it's not easy. And it's not even recommended. So if you love options, this is not for you. This would be something different that you could try. But it's not like you're going to trade options on FX. They do have them. There are financial instruments that you can trade options on, but the options are just not priced very well. And I'll be honest, the options only really make sense if you can time or predict a crash or a run up in the market. And people are historically very bad at doing both of those things. Second of all, most of your friends won't approve. And I don't really care what anybody thinks of what I'm doing, so it doesn't bother me. But when you tell people you're interested in trading FX, there are a lot of people that will say, "Oh, that's very dangerous," and then that person will go buy, a $100 million apartment building that 5 years from now might be worth $50 million. So that's risky too. All investing carries risk. And so what we do is we do the best job that we can to protect the downside, and that's the best we can do. Okay, so another question that I get all the time about FX trading is what kind of returns are possible? So in real estate, now I don't do any real estate investing, but I know that some people have been known to produce really exceptional returns in real estate. Some people produce 7 to 10% a year. Some people I know have been able to produce 30% a year. And then some people I know that probably aren't telling the truth tell me that they can double their money every single year. So these are numbers that people talk about in the world of real estate investing. In stock trading, most people lose money. Most people make $0 per year trading stocks. That is, it's been historically proven. Most people don't make money trading stocks, but the people who are good at it, they make a reasonably great return. They might make 20 to 30% a year, and then you might read about people online or people who are bragging on YouTube or Instagram that they just bought a Lamborghini, and they might brag that they're making returns of 100% on every trade, or they're trading penny stocks, or all kinds of really, really wild numbers. But really, when you get down to it, if you can make 20% per year in the stock market, you have beaten the average. You've beaten the S&P 500's average by a lot. And you could manage a lot of money. Back in the early 2000s, when I was producing 25 or 35% a year, I had money just a lot of money coming into the fund. In 1 week, I think I had $400,000 come into the fund because people wanted to get returns, and I really wasn't producing anything that I was bragging about. I never bragged or anything. I just thought I was doing my job. And so anyway, if you inherit money, then you get a 1,000,000% return, right? But if you are inheriting money, that's good. I didn't inherit anything. I didn't get anything. I started from nothing. So what's possible in FX trading compared to all of that? Well, for a novice, the honest truth is zero. For the first 1 to 2 or 3 months, really zero. No return, just learning. And if you can break even and not lose money, then you're doing something absolutely fantastic. And that's great. A novice can and will and has, I've watched this happen, can make 10 to 20% even within the first few months, beginner's luck and whatnot. But that's uncommon. It's usually the case that if someone is truly serious about learning and willing to put in, 1 to 5 hours a week to learn and to trade, then this person won't lose anything at the beginning. And then an experienced trader is going to do between 20 and 40% a year. And like I said, this is someone who has made it past the 12-month mark, who employs sound and stable risk management. It isn't trying to do, I don't know what the equivalent of a home run is in other sports, but a hat trick in hockey, or 25 touchdowns in football, or something in cricket. But like an experienced trader is someone who's managing their money properly, not taking outlandish risks. The currency market provides so much leverage on the trades that it's not uncommon to hear of an experienced trader producing those kinds of returns. That's not uncommon with experienced traders. But remember, it is uncommon to become an experienced trader, because most people start risking too much. And I don't, and you don't. But that's what most people do. They get involved. They want to make a lot of money in a short period of time. And people ask me all the time, if I have $1,000, how soon can I have $100,000? And I say, I don't know the answer to that question. I don't know. I know how fast you can have $0. You can have that really quickly. So our first goal is to not lose very much money and be very, very extraordinarily safe. I don't ever make any promises because it can be so difficult. But once someone becomes experienced and is, hitting the 12-month mark and learning and growing, this is not uncommon. Okay, so I want to talk a little bit about how someone builds or takes or does or thinks about a trade in the world of FX. And you need two things in order to do that. You need rules and a system. So rules are things like, I need to know how much money I want to make on a trade, profit target. I need to know what the maximum of money that I can lose on a trade is, a stop. The great thing about the stop losses in the world of FX, they are usually always honored, and there's very little slippage in the world of FX. So if you click on a price, you get that price. If you have a limit order, you get that price. If you have a stop order, you get that price, even if the market is moving really quickly. The rules of a system might include when to trade. And you might also list out the criteria for entry and exit. And I do this for myself, and I make videos and teach students and do some coaching to teach these things to other people as well. This is, for example, an example of rules of a system. So this is my favorite setup. I call it the Finch. We'll talk about that in just a moment. But it's a small red line made of an indicator that I place on my screen. And when this red line shows up, it's time to buy. It's an early warning sign that price is ready to move up. I might check volatility. I might check the strength of a trend. I might place a protective stop underneath price. And then I might just go into my trading platform and click the buy button, and it will give me a price. And then I can set a stop order, and I can set a profit target called a limit order. So it automatically can take me out if price goes the wrong way, and it can automatically take me out if price goes the right way. So if price moves up and I'm happy, I can take profit at this green line, for example, and that's a trade. That's a setup. In other words, that's the criteria for entry and exit. And I call it the Finch. The Finch was originally named after the softball pitcher, the women's softball pitcher. Her name is Jenny Finch. And I'm going to tell you a really quick story. She was the greatest women's softball player of all time. And she was a pitcher. So she would toss the ball. And she was so good, she could strike out the Major League Baseball players, the men. That's how good she was. And so I named my system after Jenny Finch. But one of my students saw her in a hotel parking lot and told her that we did this. And she was not happy to hear that was the case. So I kept the name as the Finch and named it after the bird, Finch. The Finch takes the same trade that I showed you just a moment ago right here on the screen. But it does it in small, predictable trades with a very high win rate. So it keeps trading over and over and over again, automatically. I built it into a robot, and I automated it. And that's where we talk about a system. Once I have a set of rules that I like, I need to build a system. So these are my finch. I call it honeymoon finch. We'll talk about that some other time, but it's just a version of the finch. It's my primary version that I run. It's been running since February this year in this primary account, and it has produced a 14% return and an 8.31% drawdown. We can talk more about that later, but I pressed some buttons that I should not have pressed. I got myself into a difficult situation back in September, and I got myself out of that situation just fine. It was no problem. But trade with 50 to 1 leverage. This is real money. It's not fake. I'll send you out a link if you'd like to see one. This is all tracked online by a third party, not by me. And this is what I do. I automated the system, and it just takes trades. Here's the picture I was trying to show you earlier. This is a trading platform called MT4, MetaTrader, or MT4. It is free. The platform is free. Anyone can download it anytime. And this platform, as you can see here, I open a lot of trades, and they're very small trades. And these small gains just compound over time. And this robot is just running on lots of different currencies all at the same time. And it's running all day long, Sunday through Friday when the FX market is open. Okay, so in other words, I found something that works, and then I scale it or increase the capital available to trade it. Now, the robot will trade currencies like the Canadian dollar, the US dollar, the euro, the Japanese yen, but it can also trade some really interesting currencies. It can trade the rupee, actually. It can trade the Mexican peso is one of my favorites. It can trade the Turkish lira, and it can trade what we call the exotic currencies as well. And I have some other robots that do a better job of that we can talk about another time. So the question becomes, and I'm almost done with the main presentation now, so I'm really excited to hear your questions. So if this is so simple, why doesn't everyone do it? And I certainly don't mean to say that this is simple or easy. I never like to say that. Most people find that this is very hard to believe that they could do it or that it's really true. So first of all, people just say, I don't know. I don't know enough about that. And it usually takes 30 days to start feeling comfortable with some lessons. And that's 1 to 5 hours a week of just, listening to some lessons, watching a couple of videos, opening up the account, asking questions, getting answers, and moving forward. So most people find it hard to believe because it's new, it's different, and that's understandable. Like it's new and it's different. So that's why most people don't do it. And then a lot of people say that this isn't exciting enough. I say something like 20% or 40%. They go, well, no, I don't. I want much more than that. And so it's not exciting enough for them. And so what people will do is they will take a big risk because they want to make it more exciting. And then they will lose money. And then that's why, even though it's simple, most people don't do it. Years ago, I decided that I was serious about this and that I was going to produce an income from this. So I wouldn't go into my job and risk getting fired. And I wouldn't go into my business and risk losing my entire business. So I didn't worry about exciting. I worried about consistent. Okay. Now, there are all kinds of trading systems in the world of FX. There are fundamental systems that trade with economics. There are automated systems that trade with robots. There are algos. You'll hear about algorithmic trading. Goldman Sachs has a famous algorithmic trading team. There are technical trading systems that are based on indicators that we place on the charts. I've already mentioned robotic trading. And then there's discretionary trading where you put the pieces of the puzzle together and then you take a trade. There are even astrological trading systems. And before you say that's really strange, it's not really that strange. These are moon phases. This is a full moon. This is no moon. This is Tesla. And at the full moon, look at this. If you just buy at the full moon and then sell at the no moon, and then wait, buy at the full moon, sell at the no moon, buy at the full moon, and so forth, you have a fairly consistent pattern based on the moon. That is wild. So there are people that write books and do studies about this kind of thing. This is my favorite way to interpret this. And in my program next year, we're spending a whole month taking a look at this in particular. Okay, so this is Tesla, and this is a earnings system. So this would be fundamentals. So some people look at the fundamentals of a stock, and in the world of currencies, they might say, okay, the euro. Well, what's the equivalent of earnings for the euro? Well, it's central bank and economic releases. So people might trade the yen when the Ministry of Finance of the Bank of Japan, the BOJ, the Bank of Japan makes a decision about interest rates. And that's a fundamental trader, someone who trades based on economic principles. And that's similar to earnings traders who trade stocks. Also, people look at price action and candle formations. They'll look at things called pin bars or engulfing bars or other types of things like that. Other people look at chart patterns. So people look at head and shoulders patterns. Here's a shoulder, a head, a shoulder. They draw a line underneath all of that. And they wait for price to break below the right shoulder. And that's a price pattern. And there are automated systems that look for these patterns and look to trade those patterns. And other people just look at their charts every day and they look for the pattern and then they set an order to sell it. And then they set a profit target based on a measured move. And that's called chart pattern or price pattern trading. So there's all kinds of different systems. There's all kinds of different currencies. Some move really fast. The Mexican peso, which is my favorite, moves really fast. This moves like a penny stock. But then there's other currencies like the euro that don't move as much. They move slower. They're like a blue chip stock. And then there's things in the middle like the Japanese yen, which can be absolutely crazy sometimes and then go nowhere for a while after that. So how can you get involved in trading FX? Well, the first thing you would do is you would open a trading account, and you could open a trading account online with Oanda at oanda.com. They don't pay me to say this. I don't get any commissions or anything like that. ForEx.com. That's another broker in the US. You could also go to forestparkfx.com. This is my friend Justin. He does not pay me for this. I do not receive any compensation. He is what is called an introducing broker, and he refers you to the broker that meets your needs best, and then the broker gives him a referral fee for helping get a new account. It does not change your trading. It does not change your spreads. It does not change your commission. He's built a really great business over the last 5 years doing that. So you would open a trading account with, $500 or $1,000. You could even use practice money. Or what they call a paper trading account or a demo trading account. So you don't even have to start with real money. And then you dive right in. You can watch, I have a lot of videos on YouTube. I have thousands of podcasts and videos. Or you could even buy some training from what is called a currency, an educator. Most programs in this business can cost $2,000, they can cost $1,000. I don't sell things for these prices. Well, I do have some things that sell for those prices, but I tend to keep it much lower when I do things. And I just have a very large, happy, worldwide family of traders. A lot of people ask me if I manage funds. I do for people who live outside the United States, or what I call international clients. Because of regulations in the United States, it's very difficult, and I would have to hire all kinds of compliance officers after the Dodd-Frank legislation from a few years ago. That made it very difficult for an individual like me to manage funds without a full-scale compliance department. And they said, you can either teach and write, or you can be a CTA and manage money, but you can't do both. They said they're just not going to be able to do both anymore. both. And so I said, I don't want to manage money anymore. It makes me more money, but it causes me a lot of stress. So I teach and write, and I trade my own account and my family's money. Now, I don't hold myself out to be a money manager. I can manage money under the US regulations for 15 investors, as long as I don't hold myself out to be a money manager. So I can do this privately, but I haven't done it because I just haven't had the right setup. I do have a couple of friends that do this. I haven't found the right group of investors or traders or whatever. So I don't do that right now, but it may be something that I plan on doing in the future. I may even get re-regulated in the future and retire from teaching and speaking and do some more of that. But that's a question I get all the time. So before we get to questions, I'll just put this link out here. I have a $1,000, or sometimes it's $657 when it's on sale. I have a program for people that do want to learn. And this link here will take you and get you more information about that program. But because I was referred to all of you through a current member of my program, this program launches next week. That's much more expensive. But I'm gonna separately send out a link to all of you if you want to do this for less than that. Now, you don't have to do anything. I don't care if you ever give me money or don't give me money, or I have thousands of videos on YouTube and whatnot. And I'm here in Houston, and maybe someday we can all get together in person. But if you are interested in mentorship or coaching or training, I do have a program for that. And because we're all in Houston together, and we can even get together, and that might be a lot of fun, and I can have take pictures with all of you and get to know you better. This program launches on November 18th, 1 week from today. And like I said, if you go to this webpage and put in your email address and your name, I will separate you from everyone else so that you get a discount if you want one, and if you don't, that's fine too. I just want to say thank you. So happy that I've had the chance to be here together with you. I'm excited for your questions. I have time to take your questions. I would love to hear your questions. So any questions you want to ask, I don't know how those are done, typed or said or spoken or whatever else, but I'd be happy to take them now.
Yeah, thanks, Rob. A lot of valuable information there. So let me start with my questions, and I requested members to post their questions onto the chat window because we have more than 40 members on chat. If I unmute everyone, there might be a lot of disturbance. So my first question is regarding this training. Like generally, for a beginner who is totally new to trading, currency trading, how much time it will take, or how many hours of training it takes for them to start playing?
So this program that launches on November 18th, it is designed to start from the very beginning and requires 1 to 5 hours per week. So the commitment can be greater, but I don't think that it's helpful, meaning it does not help to spend too much time doing something. So the recommended amount is really 1 to 5 hours a week. And this program so it's lifetime. So it doesn't expire. It's just lifetime access to everything that I do. Every video, every webinar, every training, every book, everything. All the robots, all the indicators, everything. And I just say month 1, we get started. Month 2, we go deeper. Month 3, we go deeper. Month 4, and we just do a natural progression from topic to topic, starting from account to trading to risk management and so forth. And so I have modules already built that say, this is how you get set up with a trading account. This is how you take your first trade. This is what the trading platform is. Here's what a robot is. So there's all the basics there. And then we just, we set all those things up together. And then everybody communicates and stays in touch inside of a forum where they ask questions. And then once a year in the US, we meet together. It's actually in Houston because I live here. So that's great. And then once a year, I'll go to the UK or I'll go to Australia and meet with members there as well. So in person.
Cool. So is it more on weekends, Rob? These sessions will be on weekends or?
Yeah, so that's a good question. So live trading or training, weekend, evenings, things like that. So this is the optimal time, and usually Sundays. So when I do a live support call like this, it starts off the week. So we know what we're doing for the week. We know what we're going to do. And then everything, of course, is recorded. So anytime during the week, these 15 to 45-minute sessions are recorded.
Okay, cool. So we have few questions from the members, Rob. Let me read one by one. So you mentioned about robotic trading and you have a system. So do you accept funds from others and manage the robotic trading or support in any other way?
So each trader runs the robot individually. And we provide instructions and support to install and run and manage that robot individually. For individuals that live outside the United States, I do this as a money manager. I actually do it, I know this sounds very strange, but I do this for members for free. I do not take, if you live outside the United States, I do not take any kind of management fee whatsoever. I just run the robot and manage the account. Because of regulations, I can do that for people that live outside the United States. Now, someday in the future, I may say there are 15 people maximum, and they want to, they want to pull their money together and have me run the robot and give them, a dashboard to view it. But I just haven't dedicated any time to thinking about this. And also, I can't legally, I cannot hold myself out to be a money manager in the United States. The moment I do that, if I ever say I'm a money manager, which I'm not, then I am subject to all of the regulations and all of the problems that go with that. But if, like I said, if 15 people gather together, it can't be more than 15. That's just the National Futures Association and CFTC regulations. So I could envision a day when this happens. This could happen. That I could see that happen in the United States. But as of right now, I don't do that. People run it individually in the United States and internationally. And then if they live outside the United States or they have a residence outside the United States, I can run it for them inside that managed account. And I do it for members for free. Like I said, I don't take any. I don't take any percentage of the profits.
Okay, cool. So the limit is only on the number of persons, like whenever you start that 15 people, but there is no limit on the money, right? Like
that's correct. Yeah. So it could be like theoretically, I guess it could be $50 million, but it wouldn't be. But it could be, it could be anything, but it just can't be more than 15 people. I think when you go to 16 plus people, they say, oh, okay, you're a professional now. You are claiming to be a professional money manager, and now you need to file all the compliance documents and have all of the forms. And that makes sense to me. I mean, I understand that. That's how they keep this business regulated and so forth. And that's the best way to do it. But under 15, you can actually, that just keeps it under the limit. I don't know why that is. I don't know why they have that.
Yeah. So next question from the member is like, what is the maximum lot size have you traded?
I traded 100 standard lots from 2009 to about 2012, when I had at the height, it was 8 million. I was a guaranteed CTA at FXCM. That means that I was under their legal paperwork. So I wasn't an employee of FXCM, They just did what's called guaranteed me, which meant they told the regulators, he can manage money and you can regulate him, and we guarantee that nothing will go wrong, and we'll be liable if he does anything wrong. And so they just they would refer accounts to me, and that was, let's see, 100 standard lots was $1,000 per pip of movement. And back in those days, the currency market would move 100 to 200 pips a day. So these were, and back then I was running robots that would take trade after trade after trade after trade. If things were going well, it would keep adding to a position. And those were, I would wake up in the middle of the night and I would hear this ding, ding. And it was the computer, it was the sound of the computer doing trades.
Made it to the gate where just.
So yeah, that was the largest trade size I ever traded. And I probably did that 50 or 60 times, traded that size. But usually it was 40 to 60 standard lots. That was just that was a crazy time. That was very stressful for me. Back then, because back then it was, I was still only like 6 or 7 years into the business as a profitable trader. So that was a different time back then. I think I would feel a lot different about it now. I'd feel pretty excited about it now.
Yeah. So next question is like, can a person leave his job completely and depend on Forex trading? How long it might take?
Yeah. So if you had between $50,000 and $100,000 of available capital to trade between 12 and 24 months, and this is the time frame. This is possible. I'm going to say what's possible, not guaranteed, but I'm going to say this is possible if the person uses proper risk management, closes losing trades early, and uses a system, the same system, over and over and over again. Yeah, it's absolutely possible. I've seen people do the same thing with starting with much less, but that's rare. That requires a little bit more risk tolerance, and that can be difficult for someone to do. That requires a different level of risk tolerance. Of course, the more capital you have, the less risk you have to take, and that's fantastic. So the greater amount of capital you have, the better it is. Of course, like I said, I never want to risk losing more than 1% of total account on any trade. So I never really want to take, so in my larger account, I trade on an automated system. I trade a $10,000 and a $167,000 account. I never want to take a loss of more than 1%. So, $100 to $200 at the most on a single trade that could go wrong on the small account, and never really more than $1,500 on the larger account. And it all comes down to that. Like, if you can obey those principles of risk management and cut things off when they're not working out well, it's like, firing a bad employee. That's a bad trade, just letting them go. If you can do that, then you're going to be fine.
Yeah. What is the risk reward ratio of your strategies? That's the next question.
So it's interesting. Yeah. Okay. So let's go through the strategies. So Finch is one. RSI 5 is another. And then we'll call the trend trade robot. I'll walk through these. So the Finch has a really, really bad reward to risk ratio. Oops, here, let's go here. But win percentage is very high. So the high win percentage, like 90%, it's higher than that even on the Finch. The reward to risk is it can lose 5, or it can lose 5 to every 1 it makes. So it's a bad risk to reward ratio, but a very good win percentage. So it wins almost all the time, but when it loses a little bit larger. The RSI 5 strategy has a 70%. The reward is pretty much exactly reversed, 5 to 1, but they don't happen very often. These are more rare. So you can't produce enough of an income just from those trades alone. Then there's a trend trade robot that does 20 units of reward for every 1 unit of risk, but it only has 20% win percentage. So it loses most of the time, but when it wins, it's fantastic. This system is probably the best, but it makes people very sad because they keep losing, and then they get very frustrated. So if you're a very patient individual and you don't mind losing small amounts of money repeatedly before a win, then this is a great system.
Cool. How much involvement is needed once we configure the robots?
I do once a day, 5 to 15 minutes, and I record a video of what I'm doing because I'm doing the same thing as 500 plus people. So I just record a video as I'm doing my trade management, but that's the amount of time. There are some times when it might take, 15 minutes is about the most.
Cool. So a few members are asking to share the training website link and also your YouTube channel link.
Sure. So there's the training website, robbieBooker.com/HDF. This is the link that's just for all of you. You can share it with anyone you like. It doesn't matter to me. I don't care about the money. That's not the most important thing. So you can share that with anyone you like. And then the YouTube link is youtube.com/Rob Booker, ROBBOOKER. And I have lots and lots of free videos on YouTube, lots of instruction, trading systems, money management, psychology of trading, lots and lots. I publish a new video every weekday, and some months I produce a video every single day.
No, Rob. But still, I think going through a structured training might help. Like seeing YouTube videos may not be like.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's absolutely. There's no question that is. I do have a series of YouTube videos about getting started, for example.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a playlist in YouTube that you'll see. And that's a really nice playlist. It goes through 1, 2, 3. Here's what you do. Here's how you look at it. Here's the definition of all the terms. That's a really great set of lessons on YouTube. And a broker gave me a few $1,000s to sponsor those lessons. So, I put those up for free on the internet. But after that, you're right. Having a structured program is probably a good idea. But like I said, I never try to, for some people it's good. People that are serious and people want to make progress a little bit faster, that makes a lot of sense. But I never say it's for everybody. It's really only for people who are super serious about making it work and are excited about the same kinds of thing that I'm excited about, the systems, the robotic systems, the automated systems. I don't want to sit in front of the computer all day long. It's just not my thing. I don't want to sit there all day.
Yeah, Rob. Yeah. Last 2 questions. Like, is there any specific WhatsApp group? Like, once students get into this training, do you add them into a WhatsApp group and answer questions?
Yeah. So I have Telegram Messenger instead of WhatsApp. It's easier for me to access all of my messages on all of my devices without having to do that WhatsApp code every time I log in. So I have Telegram Messenger groups and individual questions. And then the second thing is we have a brand new forum for longer format questions and collaboration. And that launches in December as part of the brand new program. So yes, people write to me. It's surprising. Not very many people write to me on Telegram, even though I have 3,000, I think it's 3,250 members from around the world. I probably only get 20 questions a day. Not very many people write, you know. I'm happy when they do. But so.
Yeah. Next question is like, how do you conduct your fundamental analysis?
I actually don't do any fundamental analysis. A really large currency broker is about to offer me, I think I can say this, like some crazy contract to do fundamental analysis for them. And so I said, well, I'm going to have to, learn a lot more about fundamental analysis if you want me to do that. And they said, okay. So as part of our training courses in 2019, we're going to read a book about macroeconomics, and we're going to talk more about structuring really long-term trades based on economic fundamentals. But I don't do any of that right now. It's just not my, I can talk about it, like, you know, interest rates, employment, inflation. I know that the Chinese economy slowing down has affected Australia. Interest rates in Australia won't be rising anytime soon. That puts pressure on the Australian dollar. I mean, I could talk about that kind of stuff, but really building a profitable trade, I have not done a lot of that. So we'll be doing that together in 2019.
And like the account which you have shown, was that a live account, Rob?
Yeah, absolutely. This is, I don't have everybody's email address, but if you go to that website and you put in your email address and your name, I'll send out the link to this. But this is it's called myfxbook.com. And this is not my company. This is just a third party that tracks results from trading accounts. And that's a real money account. Yes, that's a verified third party real money account. All of my trading performance is always public. I always publish everything either on YouTube, and you can see the actual trading accounts. You can even see the trading account numbers. I don't hide anything ever. But yeah, that's live money.
Cool. And last 15 to 16 years, how many students you might have trained, Rob?
So about, let's see, 2015, I eliminated my individual products and I launched what is called lifetime membership. And that is everything. It's not in quotation marks. It is everything. It's all webinars, all lessons, past, present, future, all robots, and all indicators. And everything, because it's just less confusing. I don't want to run an education business. If everybody wants to do it, then they could just pay one price and get everything forever. And that has about 3,250 over the course of these past 2 years.
I know we are like 10 minutes more than what we planned initially.
Okay. Well, I've been really happy to be here, so I really appreciate it.
Yeah, it was a great session, Rob. Lot of valuable inputs. I also want to thank Sumit, who connected Rob to me and coordinated this session. Thanks, Sumit.
Yes.
Any other questions? I think everyone got all the clarifications. So I'm sure we'll be in touch and we'll have more sessions.
Okay. Well, thank you. I really appreciate it. Yeah. Thanks for having me here tonight. I appreciate it, and I wish you all a wonderful week. And thanks for having me here, and I'll talk to you all soon.
Yep. Thanks, Rob. Good night. Thanks, everyone.
Good night.